Today, I want to talk about why Warzone 2 is in such a bad state and what they can do to fix it. Now, this comes from somebody that plays Warzone 2 or Resurgence nearly every single day. I stream it almost daily, and so I've played it a lot. I've played Warzone 1 in Verdansk and Caldera a lot as well, and so I have some knowledge as to what kind of went wrong between the two games, and I want to tell you what's really wrong with Warzone 2, and again, what kind of changes can they make to get the player base back and excited about Warzone 2. Now, I think it's important to understand why Warzone, the original Warzone, was so popular in the first place. Obviously, Verdansk was just an incredibly well thought out and amazing map. I mean, truly it was. And so that had it going for it, but it wasn't just the map. It was also, it felt very unique in a way, especially when people started to figure out, the movement, right? And so you had this pretty big map, and the TTK has always been like super quick in Call of Duty, at least as far as back as I can remember. But when they introduced unknowingly slide canceling into the game, it created these situations and these really cool moments where you may even be getting shot at first, but if you knew how to use movement, you could get out of those situations and then eventually wipe entire teams. And so while I hated it at first because I had to literally learn this, it became something that I used more and more and more. And then eventually, I got really good at it and was able to raise my KD because of it. But in Warzone 2, where it's more of a tactical game, so you've kind of gone back to almost a multiplayer type of setup is the way I think about it. Whoever gets first shots is typically going to get that kill, unless you're using the wrong gun. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But you have a map in Al Mazrah that is bigger than Verdansk, I think 20 or 30% bigger, whatever it is. And yet the movement has been slowed down. And so there is no more slide canceling. Sprint to fire has been slowed down incredibly, like just too much in my opinion, right? You have these situations where you're trying to dolphin dive and you're trying to slide, and yet it sometimes seems impossible to get out of these situations. And so it makes it really frustrating for somebody that works a 9 to 5 or whatever, and they just want to come home, they want to turn on their game, and they want to have fun, right? That's the whole point of gaming, is fun. And this game, unfortunately, a lot of times is not fun. And I think the fact that it feels like a slower game, and yet it feels like you die quicker in this game than the original Warzone, can make that a very frustrating experience, especially if you don't know the map. If you don't know the hiding spots, if you join Resurgence and you're not used to, a much quicker pace, but again, kind of slower movement, this can be a very frustrating game. And so I think frustration has built into the community where they're like, man, there's other games that I can play where I can have more fun. It's not the same. It's not going to be a realistic type of shooter, but I can still have more fun. And that's the whole point of a freaking game, is to enjoy it. Next thing I want to talk about is pay to win. And I'm not saying that it's completely pay to win, but what I am saying is the weapon blueprints in the store that you can buy in this game, these weapon blueprints seem to be the best they've ever come out with, which sounds good if you buy them. But if you don't, you're kind of left wondering, well, how can I build this gun to be the same as the one I can buy out of the store? And to me, it seems like sometimes you can't. That leaves a really bad taste in people's mouths. I think you should be able to build that gun exactly how you can buy it out of the store, whether that's earning attachments, whatever needs to be done. But it almost seems clearly pay to win at this point with the guns and how good they are in the store. Also, if you're using the wrong gun, if you're not somebody that's keeping up with the meta, and you decide you want to run whatever gun, right? If you're using the wrong gun, even if you get first shots on somebody in this game, if you have a good enough player that you're shooting at, that player can whip around and kill you in like 4 or 5 shots. That's what it feels like to most players because it's so freaking quick. If you're not using the right gun, you're not competing. I say that a lot in my streams, and it is the truth. The weapon balancing seems okay, but again, I feel like the weapons across the spectrum. This has kind of always aggravated me about Warzone specifically. They mess with the meta and they always do these little changes, and I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep it fresh and all of that, which I'm gonna get to. But you know, if I pick up a gun, that gun seemingly should be just as powerful or close to the guy that bought one out of the store, right? So I should be able to compete not just based on, oh, well, I got a crappier gun, here. I should be able to compete based on the fact that I put better shots and I saw him quicker, I saw him first, and if I'm putting shots on target, that means that I should be able to get that kill, not be at a disadvantage when I see the guy first and I put shots first, just because I don't have the latest and greatest build out of the store or one of the guns in meta. Now, that sounds a little bit silly because some guns are better than others, and I understand that. I just think there needs to be a little bit closing of the gap between, your meta guns and then those B, C, and even just D tier guns. Again, I kind of struggle with that because I understand that, hey, you want to keep everything fresh and, you kind of want things to change up and all of that. But again, sometimes it just seems like there's too much of a gap between certain guns. It's kind of crazy when, before this latest update, you could literally use a sniper and it would take you 2-3 shots to be able to finally get a down or a kill, and yet somebody can come up behind you, punch you twice, and you're dead. This also leads into things that can't be countered. Riot shields. One of the worst things they decided to keep in this game. You have somebody with riot shields and stuns and restock, and when it comes down to that battle right there, especially in game, you're almost going to lose that each and every time. All right, unless you're running stuns yourself and you can kind of keep them off of you, or smokes, and that will kind of disorient them a little bit. There are some tricks, but a lot of the times, if you have a gun and they have a riot shield with stuns and restock, you can almost bet your ass that you're going to lose that fight. There's really no good counter to it. So why not make riot shields where, hey, 30, 40 rounds, that thing's cracked, it's done, right? So if you decide to run that, you better be really careful about who, where you're going and how aggressive you're going to play with a riot shield. There needs to be a good counter to that. There needs to be a good counter to everything in the game. This again leads to the whole frustration part of it that I was talking about. In a game, sometimes frustration is okay, right? Sometimes you're going to get frustrated. But when it's frustrating more than what it's enjoyable, that's where it becomes a problem. And this game has plenty of frustration to go around. So here is, I feel like, one of the biggest issues. Now, there was a video I watched about a week ago, and this guy said it perfectly. I'm going to parrot that information, but just know if I can find that video again, I'll leave a link down below to give this guy credit because he just said it so perfectly, man. There's no better way for me to say it, but there's too many game modes in Call of Duty. So you get more content, and that feels like a good thing, right? But when they're adding just little bits of new things here and there, if you're a Warzone player, a multiplayer, player, then, which is, I feel like, the two biggest sectors, as opposed to DMZ and campaign and raids and, whatever, you don't feel like you're getting a ton of content. Even though they are dropping a lot of content across all of those platforms, besides multiplayer. I mean, come on, dude. We've had, maybe 2 or 3 new maps since launch. With this latest update, I think before this latest update, it was literally 1 new map. And people are literally not even asking for new maps. They're asking for redone, revamped Modern Warfare 2 maps. They already have the blueprints for that. They already have them, right? But regardless, the lack of content between all of the different modes, it almost like they can't keep up and providing good content for each one. If you're gonna have a game that has this many modes and you're splitting these players up between all these different modes, you got to have teams dedicated to each and enough people dedicated to each where everything seems fresh all the time. So right now, I think we have 2 months between season 3 and season 4. What are we going to get in between then? We're going to get maybe a couple of guns. We might get some different points of interest, maybe. Yeah, it's not enough to keep people coming back. People like me, I love the satisfaction of getting a win. I love the competitive nature of Warzone. I've always been attracted to that, and it is one of the most exciting things for me when I play really well, and it's also one of the most frustrating things, some of which y'all have seen in stream, right? And this game frustrates me to no end, but also on the same part of it is, I enjoy the competition part of it. But you gotta have new content drop all of the time to keep this thing fresh, keep it updated. I think that's just a simple solution to get more players back. If you do that right there, I feel like more players will come back, almost instantly. But you got to keep these things fresh. When they give us a new game mode, for instance, right now at the time of this video, we have Resurgence on the big map. So Massive Resurgence is what it's called. But we only have it for quads and trios. So no duos, no solos. Then they take shipment away when they give us a new map in multiplayer. And the only solos mode right now is in Resurgence. What if you like playing solos in the big map? Well, it's like they give you some things and then they take the other things away. And I almost want to say it's because there's a smaller player base and they don't think they can fulfill all these modes. That might be it. But if you want to get players back, you got to keep things fresh and entertaining. I guess they don't have enough players. Why couldn't they bring Verdansk back for a weekend? Get people excited about the things that originally got them into the game. I'm not saying you have to bring Verdansk back, indefinitely, but one weekend where people get to play that and experience it that maybe have never done that, or people that have built their careers off of playing in Verdansk. To me, that just seems like a no-brainer and an easy way to bring people back into your game. But don't do it without offering them something to keep them going after that said weekend. For example, if you're going to bring Verdansk back, make sure there's something that catches their attention. Those players that are being brought back, make sure there's something that's catching their attention so they will want to come back to the game once you re-release, the regular map, Al Mazrah or whatever. To me, the lack of content is a huge issue in Warzone. I feel like if they just did a couple of things in making the movement a little bit quicker, making the sprint to fire a little bit quicker, making sure there's counters to everything in the game, making new content and releasing it and making it fresh all the time, and maybe even closing the skill gap between the guns. To me, all of these things would make a more playable game. And I haven't even mentioned the servers and the lagging and the glitches. I mean, look, we got our stat counter at the beginning of Season 2. Season 3 comes out. The stat counter isn't working. As of this video, it's not working, right? So it hasn't been updated since Season 3 came out. It's like, I say this all the time, man. It's a billion-dollar industry, and yet it seems like they're running, $20 servers, man. How many times have you gotten to a game with an unstable connection or, whatever? And although I haven't seen a ton of cheating now, which is fantastic, right? That is a good thing. Still, man, the laggy servers and the glitches in the game just sometimes make this unplayable. And if you got to think, man, not everybody has time to play this game 4 and 5 hours a day. They may have an hour or two. They just got off of freaking work and they just want to play the damn game that they paid good money for, whether that's through their good internet connection or, things they bought in the store or the battle pass or whatever. Even though it's a free to play game, you're spending money somewhere to play it, right? People want to play the damn game, right? Regardless if it's a free to play game or not. You put it out there. People want to play the damn game. And they don't want to be lagging. They don't want to have all these silly little glitches that just makes it, again, not a fun experience. Bring back the fun to Call of Duty. Man, we should make that a hashtag. Make Call of Duty fun again. Okay? And so that's kind of where I'm at with it, man. There's things that they could change. I think I'm going to leave it at that, man. If I think of any other things, or if you want to leave your opinions down in the comments below, I'd love to hear those. I may use those in a part 2 to this video if this is something that y'all really like. Again, they can bring it back. They got the biggest name in the freaking industry, and they can do it. Will they, though? Who knows? I guess we'll find out. Again, thank you guys. If you want to support what I do, you can subscribe right here to the channel, depending on where you're watching me, Rumble, Twitch, or YouTube. You can subscribe right here. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.
Hey, get us this dub right here, dog, with them 19 kills, dog.
Oh, let's go! Come on, baby! That's what the f I'm talking about, boys.
Mother.
I fucking love it, bro.
Oh my gosh, heck, you just smoked that shit, dude.
Dude, that's...
Gosh, you just crushed that hard.
Dude, that's my best game ever, bro. Best game ever, dude.